Hello and welcome to this Project Inbox video. This is part 4 of our series looking in detail at working with piabx files, and in this session we're going to be looking at editing our piabx files in the Viewer app. So the most common way we're going to access our files for editing is by checking them out. To check the file out, we need to make sure that nobody else already has it checked out and that we have permissions to check the file out. We're in the Windows app here for the main system, and we can find the files and the one we're particularly interested in here, and I can see I've got permission to check it out because the checkout button is showing. If there's a red cross on it and somebody else was already working on it, I wouldn't be permitted to check it out. I also couldn't work on it if I had it checked out in the browser, because that's held on the server as a version for me to work on through the browser interface, and I can't be checked out the same file in two different interfaces. So let's check out the file. It of course is very simple to do from the Windows app. We're going to look at checking out a file to work on away from the system in the browser later on as well. But here the file checked out, it's put onto the local machine in a managed location, and it opens using the Viewer application. Of course, if we wanted to give this file to somebody else, we could do that. We can open the checkout folder, get the file, send it to somebody, put it on a network share, let other people access it, etc., until we're ready to put the file back into the system. In that way, it differs from editing in the browser, where you have to be logged on as you to access that file, and it's held on the server. You're always just looking at and updating the latest copy. Here we've got the actual file. The Viewer, as different to when we looked at it in video 2, when we were just viewing the file. When we were viewing the file, it was grayed out. We wouldn't the Viewer doesn't allow us to make any changes at all. Now we can make changes to the content of this file because we have it checked out, and we can see therefore that the fields are white, and we can click into them and edit or add content like that. Now there are a couple of exceptions to that. That's where the field is populated with a variable, a piece of content that's been injected into this file automatically. Those fields we can see to copy, for example, so we could copy some text out of there like that, but the field isn't editable by us. None of the content we might want to put in there would be saved. It's a variable only, so grayed background. So we can come through to our other fields that we can edit, and we can see them here, and I can drop some content into it like that if I want to. That's a paste by paste. I can obviously type into it if I want to, like that. And depending on the fields, I'll be able to, so these are all text, but if we come through and find something that's slightly different, here we've got a link to the business case, so I can put in a web address if I wanted to for that, and it would then convert that into a hyperlink for other viewers of the file later on. We've got images down here, so this one already has an image in, but I can edit that and change it to a different image if I want to. So I can go and browse an image from my folder like that. I can check the size of it, set the size of it if I want to. So I can scale it down to say quite a bit smaller like that, and have that dropped into the file for me. So working with images, nice and straightforward. And this is an addition in this latest version of piabx file, as is hyperlink actually, just to get richer content into these. A lot of them were originally just text and pick lists, etc., and this is riching up the content. Here we've got tables. I've got a table for the roles, and of course I can come in here and put a new role in like that, and I can say this is a Boolean operator. I can say that's used, and I can put who the person is, and I can set up a date. Now when we're looking at dates, to make the date active we need to tick the box like that, and then I can choose the date from the date picker like that. And in fact, once that date is set, it'll come back if I retick it like that. And of course we can add notes. Now the as you can see here, these fields can be multi-row if we want them to be. This one's a sort of 2-row field, so we can put in quite a lot of content. If we want to, we could make them bigger than that. But these sections are locked, and we are just adding content to them. We're not changing the structure of the section. Now, the only exception to that is actually here in tables, when I can change the table size and arrangement, but not its structure. So if we come to the table menu up at the top, you'll see I can't edit the structure of the table, add new columns, for example, or change the data style in the columns, or add new tables or delete tables. But I can add new rows. So that's a new row to the bottom of the table, or I could come to an existing row in the table and I could delete it, for example. So I'm going to delete that one there out of the top. We've still got the other rows, but not that one anymore. So we can make changes to the contents of the table, because often tables are added to at the bottom. Less likely things are taken away, but you can do that as well. You can't change the structure of it, but you can change the content of it. And with tables, an important part of that is adding and removing rows. Just looking for some of the other types of fields within here. I don't see any pick lists in this particular one. We'll go and find another file in a minute which just offers pick lists. So that's a pretty good example of what we can do here. Now when we want to finish our file and check it back in as a new version, we just do save and close, and then I can check the file back in from here, just like that. That's now checked back in, and we can see it's versioned. On the check-in form, I could have given a description if I want to, which would fit in here. But that file is now versioned, and obviously anyone else can view the latest one of it. Let's have a look at doing that, getting that file to edit from the browser as well. So here's the browser interface, and I'm going to find a file here I'm interested in. Let's come and have a look a little bit. One we've perhaps not looked at before. So perhaps the highlight report. So normally, and in the previous session, in fact, we looked at checking out to edit in the browser. So I'm just going to do that like that. That's editing in the browser. Like I say, the file is held on the server. I can access this from anywhere via the browser to continue working on this file as long as I want to, until I check it back in. And it's going to be unavailable to anybody else during that time. Now I'm going to undo that checkout and show you an alternate way of checking out the file in the browser. So we're currently in basic mode, where we get the most common things we might do with the file: preview or checkout. If I go to advanced mode, you'll see it offers me, rather than check out and edit that it offered me here, which is into the browser, I can instead check out the file. Now this time it gives me the piabx file as a link to download. So I'm going to right click and do save target as. Depending on your browser, it'll put it in a known location perhaps, but here I want to particularly know where I've got it, so I'm going to put it into downloads. And so I can then open this file, and you'll see it opens using the viewer app again. Here it is, and I can obviously work through this file in the same sort of way as we did before, putting the content in that I'm interested in. So we might paste something into there and add some comments, etc. This time, file and save and close. Now, of course, I've got that file now. It's in my downloads folder, and I could give it to other people, put it on a network share, give other people access to it until I'm ready to put it back in. Only I can put it back in, but it's obviously a little different from editing in the browser, where you have to be logged on as me to change the file. From the browser, I can instead get the actual file, and then I can give it to other people or share it with them. I could, of course, check out to email as well. That's the other possibility. But if I wanted to have it on a network share, for example, that's the way I would do it. Use a checkout locally, get the file, do what I want with it. And when I'm ready to check back in, I'm going to use the Explorer form to do that. I simply browse to the location where the file is, and that was in my downloads. Here it is. And check back in, and we can see that check-in's being completed there. And in fact, if we come back to basic mode now, we'll get our preview of that file with any of the changes that we've made to it. So, like I say, you've got two choices: editing your piabx files in the browser, and for most people, quick changes, updates, etc. That's going to be the best bet. If you want to do something more substantial or share it with other people, you probably want it down as a file instead, so you can edit it in the Viewer app. And as we've seen, there's lots of things that you can do in terms of making changes to the file. We're not talking about structurally changing the file, adding new sections, adding new items. We're talking about contributing to the template as it's been defined already. For details on how to personalize the file, adding new sections and items, you want the next two videos, which are personalizing in the viewer and personalizing in the browser. Okay, thank you very much.